Hello and welcome back, beautiful souls. My name is Jamie, your friendly neighborhood tarot reader and wellness coach. And today, I really want to touch on a subject that I think a lot of people know that they do, but don't actually recognize that they do or why they do it or how they're doing it. But it's definitely something that shows up in the lives of a lot of people, especially when we are trying to achieve a new level of, say, new level in relationship, or we're trying to level up in our career or finances, or even just our self-growth journey, all in all. So today I want to talk about self-sabotage. As always, if you like this type of content, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, comment down below where you're tuning in from and maybe what you feel like self-sabotage looks like for you. And don't forget to hit that little notification bell so that you can be updated every single time I post a new video like this. So to me, what self-sabotage essentially is that it is the thoughts or choices that we make, the unconscious thoughts or choices that we make that kind of go against what is good for us or what we know is good for us, or say healthy for us in a way. If I am actively saying I want a healthier relationship, but I consistently choose partners who show that they are unreliable or untrustworthy, and I ignore that, that is a form of self-sabotage, right? So these are like choices and thoughts that we have that are essentially going against what we know to be the best avenue or best choice for ourselves. So today what I want to do is that I want to do a tarot reading, because I do believe that tarot or oracle cards, they can actually reveal essentially the unconscious. They can reveal what we are yet to be aware of, or they are going to confirm what we are already aware of, but maybe we lack the courage or the confidence in ourselves to ultimately do what is right, to make the next right, or to take the next right step. So I want to do a tarot reading, and we are going to discover where you are self-sabotaging, why you are self-sabotaging, and how you can shift or correct this behavior. How does it need to be addressed? So let's get started. Okay, so let's see where, why, and how are you self-sabotaging? I typically do an overall energy read, but I actually don't feel like that's necessary. I think with this, we want to actually kind of get straight to the point. So where are you self-sabotaging? The devil. The devil is essentially, it is the card of self-sabotage, because the devil governs things like toxic relationships. It governs things like limiting beliefs. It governs things like healthy or unhealthy addictions, right? Whether this is actual addiction, whether this is with food, television, social media, whatever the case is, your self-sabotaging, where you're self-sabotaging are the places where you feel like you don't have a choice. Whether that is within your relationship, whether that is within your career, whether that is within your like self-help journey, just in life in general, it's this belief that you actually don't have a choice. Because I mean, look at that guy. He looks tempting. He actually looks quite soft and alluring, but in reality, it's the devil. And look here, it's this puppet master. It's like, here, if you just come with me, it's all going to be okay. I will take care of you. But what happens is that there's always some sort of condition attached to that. And it keeps us in this belief that you cannot break free, that you actually don't have the power that you actually do when it comes to these choices. So essentially, this is saying where you're self-sabotaging the most is the area of life that you feel like you don't actually have a choice, right? And I'll get clarifying cards on all of these as well. I just want to see what the rest of the reading entails, and we'll discuss it more as we go along. Why do you feel this way? Why are you self-sabotaging? Because you feel like it is going to restore balance. You feel like if I just give in, if I just do what this person wants, if I just don't try to assert my own boundaries, or if I just don't speak up for myself, I'm actually going to maintain balance. Now, typically we would appreciate seeing temperance, the card of temperance, direct. But in the context of this discussion, when we're looking at why am I self-sabotaging, because you believe that it is going to in some way maintain or even restore a sense of balance, right? Now, how can we work with this energy? How can we kind of break this chain? How can we break this pattern of self-sabotage? Focus on what actually brings you joy. Because here, one, I want to point out that these are all major arcana cards. Major arcana represents big energy. It represents pivotal energy. So if you are looking at this and you're thinking, it's just this minor thing, I can let it slide, the cards are essentially saying, no, you cannot continue to let it slide, because it is actually going to be the thing that changes your life. It is actually going to be the thing that restores happiness. It is actually going to be the thing that restores joy and inspiration. It is actually going to be the thing that allows you to feel connected to your truest and highest version of yourself, right? So these are all major arcana cards. Major arcana, again, they kind of represent big energy and big secrets. So if we are looking at the discussion of self-sabotage and you're thinking, again, it's this minor thing, I can let it slide. You can continue to let it slide. You can continue to think that if you just let it go, it's going to restore this sense of balance. But in reality, it's not going to do what you think it is. And it could be that how do you break this thing is like the sun. What is the sun? It is literally the biggest star in our little universe. It is literally the biggest star in the solar system. And it is also the brightest, right? So you can allow your light to shine through, right? You can allow this light to come through. I'm actually going to use a different deck to clarify these cards. Actually, you know what? I don't want to. I want to keep this deck. So when we're looking at the Devil card, where are you self-sabotaging? Again, any place that you feel like you don't have a choice, right? That is essentially where you feel disempowered. I don't have a choice in this. And in reality, you do have a choice. There's always a choice. You may not be able to control the outcome of the situation itself, but you can control how you show up in the scenario, period, right? Which gives you a sense of empowerment because you are choosing how you're going to show up. And that allows you to take back this sense of power and connectedness to your overall sense of self. So where the Six of Cups and the Four of Cups. So when we're looking at where you're self-sabotaging, it does feel like you're kind of looking maybe somewhere within the home, maybe within family, right? It feels like this is something that you have probably learned. This is a learned thing. If I just go along if I go with the grain, if I go with the flow, regardless of how I feel about it, regardless of what I think about it, I'm going to be able to restore or maintain this sense of balance. within all. So the Six of Cups governs things like nostalgia. It governs things like the past. So again, this feels like this is something that you have learned, but we're also, again, looking at early memories. So I'm going to assume this is something you feel like you don't have a choice when it comes to family, friendship, or love in some way, relationships in some way. And as a result, it's kind of created this sense of apathy. Why bother? They're not going to listen to me anyway. They're not going to do this. They're not going to change. It is not about them. It doesn't matter if they are going to change. It doesn't matter if they care or not. What matters is if you care. What matters is if you want to continue down this path of feeling unfulfilled, of feeling like what you have to say doesn't matter, of feeling like you are just this, what is the word I'm looking for? I can feel it, but I can't quite articulate it. If it's like this, you're just another endless body floating along of life, right? This is just how life is. This is just what life gave me, yada, yada, yada. Feeling like you don't have a choice in the say of things, right? So when we are looking at where are you self-sabotaging, this is something that is connected to an emotion. Again, and this feels like within relationships, specifically maybe within the home. So it could be a spouse, with children, with parents, again, with family, close relationships, so friendships. And for some of you, it's going to be within your romantic relationships, right? Here, why are you doing it? Because you think it's going to maintain a sense of balance. The Five of Pentacles in reverse, and then the Eight of Swords in reverse. It feels like with the Five of Pentacles, it's like I've just given up. Like I can't overcome this. Or maybe you feel like if you try, that you will be met with resistance, that you will be met with feeling left out in the cold. Why? It could be this overall sense of rejection. Like, I don't want to be rejected. I don't want to be cast out from society. I don't want to be cast out from my family. I don't want to be cast out from my friends group, and I don't want to be cast out by this relationship. I don't want to be left out alone in the cold. Okay? And this is something that ultimately it can turn into potential self-criticism or being overly critical of others. It feels more like overly critical of yourself. You know what I mean? Like, God, you should have said something. Why didn't you say something? God, you're so stupid. You're weak. You're sad. You're pathetic. Da 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 da. Whatever internal voice comes along with this belief, whatever internal voice comes along with this devil card here, feeling like you don't have a say, feeling like you don't have control, that is the self-sabotage itself. What happens is that when you say, we'll just say, when you do not advocate for yourself, or when you do not assert a boundary, or when you do not recognize that you actually do have a choice regardless of the scenario, that you actually do have a choice, and then you feel, because it's almost like you feel rejected anyway. You feel rejected anyway, regardless of whether you say something or you don't. It's this consistent narrative that either if I say something, I'm going to be rejected, and then if you don't say something, you are rejecting yourself. That is the loop of self-sabotage. That is the repeating cycle. If I don't advocate for what is important to me, if I don't advocate for myself, I am consistently reminding myself on an unconscious or subconscious level that I don't matter and that people are going to reject me. So whether it's like this, I'm damned if I do and I'm damned if I don't, right? So that is why you are self-sabotaging. It is this fear of rejection, but what is actually happening is that you are solidifying this belief that you're either unlovable, that you are going to be rejected regardless. Nobody likes me. Everybody hates me. I guess I'll go eat worms, right? That is how you're kind of feeling when it comes to this, and why you're doing this loop of self-sabotage is that it is coming from this fear of rejection. And whether you are going to get rejected by others or whether you are subconsciously rejecting yourself, it is what is happening. So now how do we flip this cycle? How do we flip this or rewire this energy, so to speak? We've got the sun here. Again, reconnecting to the self, reconnecting to source, to your source, focusing on your happiness. What makes you happy? The Page of Pentacles and the Queen of Wands. Beautiful. So these two cards here represent a sense of confidence, of joy, and kind of this self-assertion, right? These are both signs associated with Leo energy. Leo is very noble. It is very honorable. It is the sign of kings. It is the sign of nobility. But that nobility comes from a sense of honor, and it comes from a sense of justice, and it comes from a sense of doing what you know is right, even if it causes an uproar. Okay? So this Page of Pentacles is saying, look, you can advocate for yourself. You can say what needs to be said. You can actually, again, like I said earlier, when we believe that we don't have a choice, it reaffirms this narrative within that we are going to be rejected regardless. But when we show up and say, look, I can't control how my boss reacts today. I can't control how my coworkers react today. But you know what? I can control. I can go into work feeling very confident in who I am, feeling very comfortable in my own skin, and knowing that I do the best job that I can do. I show up daily and do exactly what I am supposed to do when I'm supposed to do it. I am showing up with integrity, and I am showing up with connection to my highest self, or the self in general. When it comes to relationships, if you feel like it doesn't matter what I say, they're not going to listen to me. First off, if that's how you feel, that's a red flag. Number one, that the relationship itself, there's probably a lack of trust or safety in it. So there's something that needs to be addressed. But when you're like, you know what, it does not matter if they like what I have to say. You can show up with respect, you can show up with compassion, and you can show up with clarity. And you can say, look, we need to have a hard conversation. We need to have a hard conversation. You can show up with a plan. When you show up with a plan on how you want to handle something, you are taking your power back. You are taking your power back because you are showing yourself that you matter. You are showing yourself that you are valuable and that your presence, your energy matters. And the more you do that, the more you rewire this belief that you don't matter. The more you rewire this belief that, oh, I can actually speak up for myself. And there are some people, they're not going to reject me. In fact, they're going to end up respecting me. They may not like it in that moment, but they will ultimately end up respecting me, and I will ultimately end up respecting myself. Okay. And then that's when you step into this Queen of Wands energy where you are self-assured, where you are self-confident, where you do know that it doesn't matter if that everyone rallies around you, right? We're looking at quality over quantity. I would much rather be surrounded by one person who's got my back, who respects me and values me for what I bring to the table, than by 10 people who barely know I exist. Because we are looking at the quality of the relationship versus the quantity or the longevity of the relationship, right? So how you change this is that you reconnect to yourself. What do I want to see happen out of this situation? Whether that's career, relationships, spouse, family, friends, whatever. What do I want to see happen out of this relationship? What do I want to see happen out of this situation? You reconnect to what it is that you want, to what you think is going to ultimately make you happy. You make a plan. How am I going to go about this? And then you will ultimately begin to rebuild this foundation of confidence and belief that you matter, because you do matter. You absolutely 100% matter. Let's get a couple of oracle cards. Well, I really don't think we need to be truthfully honest. This was such a killer reading. Like, it's such a beautiful, powerful reading. I really don't think that that's what we need to do. But let's see. Unleash your kindest self. You can show up in a connection with love and with care and with compassion, but also be clear and direct with that relationship or within that space. You can show up that way. Just because you speak clearly and directly does not mean that you might hurt their feelings, but that may be more about how they respond or react to what you're saying. But if you can show up as your most authentic self, because when we are deep in that connection with the divine, when we are deep in that connection with source, we feel that unconditional love. We know that things are going to be okay. We don't just believe we know that they are going to be okay, because we know that we are unconditionally loved by the divine, by the universe, because that is the frequency of which we exist on. Source, God, divine, the universe, it is a frequency of unconditional love. So when you show up connected to that, when you show up as your most authentic, kindest self, you are showing not only yourself, but others, this is how I treat you, and this is how I expect to be treated. Let's see. Let's go with this one. This reading turned out to be a little longer than I expected or what I anticipated. I was hoping to keep it short. Just be patient. When you start advocating for yourself, when you start showing up for yourself, it's not going to shift things overnight. You're going to begin to feel this spark, like, oh, that's what empowerment feels like. Oh, that's what it feels like to unconditionally love myself. Oh, that is what that feels like. And then you're going to have to make the same choice the next day. And then you're going to have to make the same choice the next day and the day after that and the day after that and the day after that and the day after that. You have to recognize that this is not a hack. This is not something that is going to shift immediately. But the more you know what that feels like, the more you can add little bricks day by day to begin to build this really steady foundation for yourself. Let's do this one. Last one. Light body crystal grid transmission activation. This message is something that you are meant to hear in this moment. I normally don't say that because that sounds ridiculously cheesy, and can some way be very predatory when it comes to what I do for a living. But ultimately, if you're hearing this message, it's going to activate something within you. It is going to allow you to recognize, oh, I do that. I don't speak up for myself. I do have a fear of rejection, and that turns into me ultimately rejecting myself. Oh, this was something that I needed to hear in this moment. Because we are stepping onto a different, the old world is dying and the new world is waiting to be born. And this is your time. This is your moment. This is your opportunity to shift into that highest version of yourself so that you can step into this new world knowing who you are. That is absolutely amazing. I mean, I love that. I really don't feel like much more needs to be said. I really don't. Because that's the thing about self-sabotage, is that it's usually something, it's almost like it's on this borderline of unconscious to conscious. We know that we feel disempowered, yet it's a fear, it's a choice, it's a belief that if I just do this thing, it is going to either maintain or restore balance. And that's not actually what's going to happen. What's going to happen is that choice is then going to reaffirm that fear. It's going to reaffirm, if I speak up, I'm going to be rejected. It's going to reaffirm, they are going to reject me. And that subconscious belief on a repeated basis becomes your norm. And it's just this cycle that feeds, it just feeds this thing over and over and over and over and over until you consistently hit this wall. You consistently repeat this pattern, right? So recognizing that you do have a choice, regardless of the situation. You have a choice on how you show up. You have a choice on how you assert yourself within the experience. And that is actually going to begin. That's going to be your first step in showing yourself and the world and the divine, I am ready to believe. I am ready to know that I am worthy of being appreciated, of being valued, of being loved. All of these things, you will begin to, that is the first step in knowing that that is true for you. And the more you repeat that, the more you do that, because what we do frequently creates our frequency. The more you do that on a repeated basis, the more that is actually going to become the reality that you create. So I hope you enjoyed this as much as I enjoyed this. If you like this video and you like this type of content, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Hit that like button down there. Leave a comment below. Check out the links below if you're looking for more personal guidance. That is where you can find how to book a personal reading with me, or you can sign up for the weekly newsletter. Check out my blog and just overall check out all the little things that I offer. And then go ahead and hit that little notification bell so that you can be updated every single time I upload a new video. So I hope you all have a wonderful week, and we will see you next time.